people in the front, because there's something about the people that sit in the back that kind of want to warm up, need a little bit of time, I understand. Also, it's a day off, so it's kind of nice to sit in the back and just say, I'll see how this kind of works out. But I'm going to just take a moment and ask you to just tell me, like, how old your child is, if you have a child, if you wish you had one, or just, and generally what you'd like to gain from the next hour that we have together. So, do you mind starting? And thank you for sitting in the front. I hope that doesn't punish you. I hope that reinforces you. And when you all finish, I'll tell you about me. You guys are more important for sure. So take us out. Take it away.
We have several kids. They start at 1 and end at 17. Well, start at 17 and end at 1.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. What's the most challenging age from 1 to 17?
Probably 11.
11?
And 10. My 10-year-old special needs.
Okay. Okay. Great. Well, thank you. Welcome. We'll just go around this way.
I have 3 kids, 12, 8, and 5. And 2 of my 2 oldest are on the spectrum.
Oh, great. Rachel?
Proud mother of dogs, 7 years old. No, but really what I'm looking forward to is gaining some tools to go back for those parents that weren't able to come, that maybe there's some good information here, always a wealth of knowledge.
Okay. Great.
I am a parent of 2. My husband James, who's they practically raised at the center. He's 9 and he's on the spectrum, and then our Hope Marie, who is 11 months.
Awesome.
So just helping build that relationship and
Absolutely. Great.
I have 2 boys, 8 and 12. And so this month and next, so they might as well be. My oldest is on the spectrum, and I'm just honestly mainly looking for parent tips for my youngest one because he's difficult and I love him,
Okay.
but I just need some help.
Okay. All right, guys.
Allison and I'm Seth. We've got 2 boys, 11 and 6. Our 11-year-old is on the spectrum. We've actually had quite a bit of help to this point, and St. Nicholas has been a big part of that. We were in Lake Charles for 4 years, 5 years, twice, something like that. And he's in 5th grade, and we've got a 6-year-old as well. So that's what we're doing here.
What do you say?
Great. Anyone in the back want to share?
I have 5 children, my husband do, and I'm a school social worker, so I see children on the spectrum.
Excellent. Great.
So my children are grown, but I keep my 3 grandchildren every day after school, and I sub sometimes. So I thought, well, let me just come in here and get some tips.
Excellent.
My kids are in their 30s. I'm just volunteering.
You're volunteering.
Same, I'm volunteering.
Okay. Bringing it back around.
I have 2 kids, but my 15-year-old is why I'm here.
Okay.
And she has autism and epilepsy and ADHD, and so we have kind of a combination of things going on. 15 is a tough age anyway, but it's impacted by about 10, I think, with everything else that she has going on. And I know that my parenting skills probably affect a lot of things going on with her, and so any advice I will take. So.
Okay. Great. It's good to have you. We're just saying, like, while we're here, what we're hoping to gain.
Candace, Karam, I have, we're saying all of our kids, is that what we're doing?
Well, just, yeah, you can.
Okay, I have 2 children. I have a 13-year-old with Down syndrome, and I have a 5-year-old.
Okay.
And why I'm here, just to bring in more resources and get strategies and skills that I need for, to help him with whatever's going on at the time. Everything's different. Some days are different, better than others.
Sure. Okay, great.
Hi everyone, my name is Nancy Clement. My husband and I have 2 children, the ages of 1 and almost 3. And I'm here to gain parent tips.
Okay. Excellent.
Hi, my name is Margie Carlin. I'm a speech pathologist. I do not have any children of my own, but I want to be a mom one day. So I just want to learn tips for future
I am a resource teacher. I deal with kindergarten students, and I'm seeing more and more of autism in our school. And so I just want to know more.
Great.
And the reason I chose this class was because I want to be able to tell parents what they may be
Okay,
able to do.
excellent.
I'm Cassie Hudson. I have two kids. One's 9 who is on the spectrum, and I have a 16-year-old who is typical. I'm here just to learn some more parenting tips. I also work at St. Nicholas Center. I'm not a therapist, but I do help parents and give advice in any realm of as being a parent. So I like to be able to learn things to help them and help me.
Great.
My name is Daniel Bryant. I have 3 girls, 8, 10, and about to be 16. But the 10-year-old's very ADHD, not on the spectrum per se, but has a lot of sensory issues, hyperfixation, things that can be very challenging to deal with. So we're going to take this opportunity to get some things that might help us out with it.
Well, we're gonna have a good time, and if you all are, if you have specific questions that aren't answered through these activities that we do and the discussion that we have, I'm happy to help. Rachel is here in the room, I volunteer her. So many times, my name is Colleen, by the way, I forgot that part. My name is Colleen Cornwall. I have my undergraduate degree in behavior disordered education, a master's degree in varying exceptionalities, which is a variety of exceptionalities. And then my doctorate is in curriculum design and development, so with an emphasis in behavioral analysis. And I am a behavior analyst, and all that means to say is that I was a really good behavior analyst, like really good, until I had kids. So I am the mother of a now 22-year-old son and a 21-year-old. And when I had those kids, no, 20. God, she wishes she was 21. She keeps saying, Mom, all my friends have a fake ID. I said, one thing I wanted to get you kids through was to just, don't get a fake ID. That makes me a loser parent, and I please do not. But my son was like, okay, I don't care. My daughter, we're only a few months away. But these kids, especially these girls, they try to sell you fake IDs. We're putting it in order. I can't believe it. But anyway, that's enough about that. So she is 20, not 21. She wishes she was. And I don't know why she wants to drink all the time anyway. It's not that, it's just a headache, a slow start the next morning. It's not really worth it. But at any rate, when I had the kids, then I realized I didn't really know what I was doing, and I had been advising parents, and yes, behavior analytic principles are really helpful. And as those of you who have children in therapy, you've learned, much like our keynote speaker just discussed, you learn some terminology, you learn some principles, and sure, behavior analysis is just the science of human behavior. It's not for autism only, it's not for Down syndrome only, it is literally the science of human behavior. And I think sometimes people really get that twisted. Like, this is something special we have to do so that our kids will make progress. We all make progress as a result of behavior analysis. We all change our behaviors as a result of that. On a personal note, I thought I was doing all right. I kind of readjusted my own practice in working with parents when I became one. And that's not to suggest that if you're not a parent, right, you're not an awesome BCBA, because you are. But there's just a different understanding that comes about when you struggle. And the one thing, I'm 3 degrees and I did all the things I was supposed to do and check the boxes, and I do not know to this day if the decisions that I made with my children as a parent were the right ones. So when you say my children are grown, they're in their 30s, well, mine are getting grown, they're in their 20s, and I still am reminded every day of how I probably screwed up. And from a trauma perspective, which has been kind of the theme of the morning, I didn't anticipate sharing this. It's a bit different, but I think the experience is the same. I'm what my friends that I made when my son was 15, we call ourselves warrior moms. My son was diagnosed with type 1. And he was type 1 diabetes, and it was like we just thought he had the flu, he was never sick. The next thing, the whole story, we're in the ambulance, I don't know what's going, he's basically loses consciousness. He's good, he's fine, he deals with it every day. But wow, I mean, so it's like I don't have the understanding of autism. I run a school and a facility for kids with all developmental disabilities, but I sure as heck know what it's like to have the rug ripped out from under you as a parent. And things really shifted, especially having more than one child. Because my daughter felt that everything was about Zach and everything was about, so we dealt with that through those early teen years. And I'm just here to say, I don't know what it's like specifically to have a child with autism, but I certainly know what it's like to deal with the trauma, and always question yourself on what you're doing as a parent. And I think it's some of the most, you really do freeze sometimes. And through the years, I have a school in Naples, Florida. Yep, we just got hit by Ian, called Able Academy. It is, I worked in the public schools for years. Then I said, I want to do this on my own, but I don't want to have a school. I just want to run a summer program. Then it turned into a school. Everything I said I wouldn't do, I've done. It just takes a few years. But we have a facility, an early intervention clinic for children ages 2 to however long they need it. And then we have a full-time private school program for learners up until the age of 22 or their 23rd birthday. And so it's kind of cool. We have a really neat perspective, and I've been doing it long enough to see and enjoy that perspective, but also to see how parenting shifts along the way. And we've done a number of trainings with parents. We're really big on it. You want parents to be involved. The parent is the best teacher. The gut of the parent is what should always guide the practice. And I've done a lot of different trainings, and the reason I wanted to bring this one to you is because the feedback I've gotten from the families that we've done this training with is they've said, that actually really helped. And it helped, especially when two parents had different styles to come together and to action plan. So the good news is this has nothing to do with developmental disabilities, kids who have medical issues. This is not developed for parents who have children who are different, and all of the children are different, but this is general research for all parenting. And the reason I like it is because, number one, the parents that we've used it with have said that was effective. Number two, it gives you grace, right? It's just, let's parent like we're parenting no matter what the conditions are, no matter what the expectations are. It allows you to just be free, share this information with friends who do not have children on the spectrum, or children with Down syndrome, or with critical medical issues. So that being said, I hope you enjoy it. For those of you who've said, I want to learn this and share this with other people, great news. I have about 35 additional copies. I'm happy to send you out with those copies if you want them. I do think, I have no problem with you taking this. I can send you the slides. I don't own this stuff. So if you want to provide this training for parents, it's yours. Just give me your email, I'll send you the training, and you can take this. I don't own any of it. It's based on the research of these individuals who are listed in the front. My name is only on it so that I remember that these are the packets that I needed for today, okay? So if you will take a few moments and fill out the parenting style questionnaire, which is essentially the first 4 pages. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to do that. If you came with a partner, you need a packet. If you came with a partner, you can feel free to talk about it as you fill it out, but I kind of recommend that you don't. Just do it independently. should have played some music during this part.
You could
Tina
sing.
Turner, you're simply the
Yeah, you
best.
could sing. You want us to score it too?
I was gonna kind of let everybody finish just filling out those 4 pages. If you wanna move on to scoring, you
No,
can.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm just on the 4th.
I had to just read it.
I like how compliant you all are in Louisiana. So if you have finished those 4 pages, the scoring is pretty simple. You just circle you just put your score down that you gave, and then you're gonna have to total it up and divide it by 13. So maybe it's not as simple as it looks. I was gonna say, does anybody need a phone for a calculator or anything? Okay. Sometimes the math isn't really necessary because you can see you have all, 4s to 6s in one column. As a teacher and a behaviorist, I noticed that there are 3 people in the audience who are left-handed like me. That's a pretty high prevalence for a small group like this. type 1 parents? Okay. It's okay. Be proud. Be proud.
Like your highest score?
Yes, yep, your highest score was in type 1. Okay, a lot of type 1. So this is an authoritative. This is authoritative. Okay, there are 3 types that we're going to talk about today. There's authoritative, authoritarian, and permissive. Now, you would think, well, I don't want to be a permissive parent. Did any of you come out as type 2? A type 2 parent? You were close. That's authoritarian. That's not abnormal to come out close to those 2. So as we go through this, you're going to have to think about your own examples and kind of decide which way you're leaning. And then any type 3s. Okay, that's okay. You came out as a permissive parent, but that permissive is not a bad word. You'll see, we'll go through. So type 1 parents are authoritative. Again, this is a scale, but I do find it interesting, and the feedback that I've gotten is that this is helpful. So, the characteristics of this parenting style, you have high expectations of your child. Is that fair? Okay. You share responsibility with your child. They're not always in charge, nor are you. Sometimes they make the choices, sometimes you make the choices. You have great compassion for your child. Who doesn't? Actually, ma'am, in the back, you do. I'm just kidding. That's not a part of it. Not at all. Okay, provide structure and you expect adherence. Do you guys have, authoritative parents have non-negotiables? Yeah, absolutely. So an authoritative parent is going to have some non-negotiables. Other things are up for discussion, but there are certainly some non-negotiables. Communicates openly regarding decisions, but not at the time of delivering consequences. Do you find that to be true? So this is the consequence, this is what's happening. We're going to talk about it later.
Yeah.
We're not talking about it right now. Is that true? Does that resonate with you? Number 1 best thing to do behaviorally in the world, by the way. Don't talk about the problem as the problem's occurring, because then the problem just gets bigger. And now there's all kinds of other factors that are reinforcing that problem, so that makes it messy. And then implementing consequences when necessary without drama or trauma. This is what happened, this was the rule, you broke the rule. It's pretty authoritative. Does that resonate? Okay. Now, are there those of you who came up as the 2nd type or the 3rd that say, well, I have all those things too? Maybe these researchers are onto something. Okay, so the effects of this type of parenting on the child. The child is relatively responsible for their behavior. They're empathetic. They're warm and kind. They're generally well liked by their teachers and peers. Why?
Because they do what they're supposed to do.
Right, because the teacher's parenting 26 kids at a time, essentially, and you need some who are going to follow a few rules and comply with some non-negotiables. And they're more resistant to peer pressure. Why do you think that is?
The expectations.
Yeah, they know the expectations, and they're not going to be pressured because over here, there is some give and take with the parent. We share the responsibility, and there's someone who has great compassion for me, so I'm going to be okay. I mean, peer pressure still stinks, but they're going to be a little bit more resistant to it. They'll have meaningful relationships with others. They're able to express their opinion and accept opinions of others. Some of you are saying, my child has autism, so the expressive behavior isn't there. It doesn't need to be in words. If your child's nonverbal or low verbal, they are still definitely communicating to you their opinion, right? And when they have that opinion and they choose it, just like you have non-negotiables, you taught them to have non-negotiables. So as much as that may want to make you bang your head against the wall, celebrate it. Because you have non-negotiables, why shouldn't they? Now, it might be some give and take, but celebrate those non-negotiables because that's someone who can stand pretty solid in their way. Yes, we can work on flexibility, and yes, but they can stand solid in their ground as they move forward. So that's a good thing. Respect for others, even when different and not really bothered by differences of opinion. And that goes right back to the authoritarian parent says, this is me, and this is my way, and these are my expectations. But I'm willing to listen to you and take your information into consideration. So you would think, okay, it sounds great. If I didn't come up as an authoritative parent, well, I wish I were. That's not necessarily the case, because as many of these effects that we have that are positive, there is generally a weakness here, and that is that because we're authoritarian, we may be guiding our children a little too much in what their objectives are, in what equals success, right? So that we're willing to listen to them, but they could be looking to us for success. And this is one of those things, I think, when kids hit their 20s and 30s, you go, man, I hope I didn't spend that money on a vocational program or a college degree because that's what you thought I wanted you to do. I hope you did what you wanted to do because life is long and I'm not always gonna be here. So please don't act only to please me. And that's I'm an authoritative parent. That's a personal struggle that I have, that my kids don't wanna disappoint me. You know, my son's just out of college, he just got his first job, well, 2 jobs because the economy, and he's gotta pay his bills. And the first job, I thought it was a great opportunity. He hated it. And he kept wanting me to say and he already found replacements and all the things we taught him to do, but he wanted to hear from me that it was okay to quit that job. And I said, we're past that. This is your life, your bills, your decision. But he wanted me so badly to say, that sounds like it really does stink, and forget them. You should go ahead and put in your notice. And it was hard because even his best friend I had seen, and he said, Zach really wants to hear that you're okay with him. It was Universal Studios. I thought it was a pretty cool job. I thought it would lead to a bunch of things. But he was sweeping popcorn, so I had to understand that wasn't what he wanted to do. So your goal then is to increase your child's ability to set a goal, create a plan, follow the plan, and self-assess without your feedback. How hard is that? It's gonna be pretty hard, but you're all gonna leave with a game plan, and this is about behavior change for you that will result in behavior change for your child. So authoritative strategies, move from a to-do list to this game plan. The game plans are located in the back of your handout. You have a few. So the GAME, I love an acronym. Goal, what is the desired outcome? Actions is the A, list specific actions and the timeline for completion. The measure, how did I do? Compare your dimensions of success. And then edit, how do I need to change this so that I can make it more successful for my child? So when we move into that activity part, this is what you're going to do. So for you as an authoritative parent, if you want to write in one of these game plans, you can, but again, I'm happy to share this with you, the PowerPoint with you. The goal is not a wish, but an expected outcome. It's got to be measurable and attainable. That's an important thing to know. This isn't just, I wish he would. It's got to be pretty specific, or I wish he would. And then we're going to list the specific steps to take with the timeline for the measure. We're either going to do yes, it happened, no, it didn't happen, or we'll rate, or you'll take notes. We're going to talk through this as you guys develop these. And then edits you're going to do later, where I'm going to help you set up the GAM, and then you guys are going to play the game, because you're going to have to make the edits as you try to implement it. So here's an example of a goal, of a game plan goal, just a silly one. The barista at Starbucks will smile because of me. Because this is something, that I can try to do and measure to see. It's very specific. Did the barista smile at me or not? So what are my actions? I'm going to order my drink, make eye contact and say thank you, compliment them on something that I like, thank them for their great service, and wish them a great day. Then I'm going to take down my notes. These are the actions, these are the order I'm going to do it. Now I'm just taking notes. I did it and it was good. I ordered my drink, I was clear, I ordered it the Starbucks way, which takes some practice. I made eye contact and said thank you. I did it, she didn't look back. I complimented her, I did it, she smiled. I thanked them, whoops, I forgot to do that. I wish them a great day, I did it, she said thank you. So then we're gonna go back and look and say, I'll remember to say thank you next time. When somebody gives me something I ordered, even though she didn't look at me, I'll keep trying to get eye contact from other people because it is important in a good interaction. So again, those edits are just what did I do wrong and what do I need to give up on? Because then we start to learn as authoritative people, we might not be able to get that response, so let's adjust what it is that we're looking for. And the game plan is for you and for your child, by the way. So here we go, the kitchen will be clean because I help my mom and dad. If you're an authoritative parent, you might finish dinner every night and say, okay, don't forget, Colleen, it's time for you to take the dishes, go to the thing. Nope, you didn't pick them up right, you're not cleaning them right, you're gonna drop them, look at where the food is, right? That's an authoritative guiding you the whole way. We're just guiding, we're just teaching. No, we're nagging and we're not giving the opportunity to do it. So the game plan for them might be, these are the steps that you need to follow, and you're going to develop this plan with them initially, and then step back and let them do it the entire way, by themselves. Even if every step is a mess up, it's okay. You don't intervene at the different steps. We'll start doing this together once we go through all of the types. Type 2 parents are authoritarian. These parents set strict rules and expectations. They're very demanding and they have high expectations. They offer few choices within the context of providing the rules. They express disappointment and failure to adhere to those rules, and they're clear with their consequence from the outset of the expectation. There is no guessing with this parent. Is there anything wrong with being an authoritarian parent? No. Were any of you raised by an authoritarian parent? Yeah, look at us. We're pretty cool. We turned out okay. So this does not have, the authoritarian parent style also has good effects on the child. The effects are that your child will conform to expectations and norms, right? So there won't be a lot of those experiences where you have to say, listen, we've got to work through this, because the child knows whatever the norm is in this environment, I'm expected to follow it. So there's not going to be a lot of verbal rehearsal once you get that norm. Now the weird thing is, when we parent a child with any difference, we change the norm. We adjust what our expectation is, or adjust the environment so that they'll be successful. That's only one part of the intervention, right? The child flips the light switch on and off, so somebody has the brilliant idea, we'll just tape the light switch. Or when we build our new house, we'll put the light switches up at 5.5 feet. That's wonderful, but every other environment that the child walks into has light switches. So you don't make a behavior go away by just by adapting the environment. That's setting up for success, maybe, but if you don't get that light switch untaped or close to the child and have them demonstrate the appropriate behavior around it, the modification in and of itself is where you get wrapped up. That's where you lose. That's where it gets kind of junk behavior, because you don't get away from it. And yes, you say my child needs accommodations. They do to learn. We all do. But if an accommodation doesn't happen in the real world, it has to be faded. There's got to be a plan for fading it. With the authoritarian parenting style, there's not a lot of tight tape on the light switches. There's less of that. So that can be a good thing as an authoritarian parent, because you're just dealing with the junk when it happens instead of making it not possible to happen and dealing with it later. Both of those fit. That doesn't make one worse than the other. The child will seek the rules before engaging in unfamiliar environments. That was me. I was raised by a pretty authoritarian parent. What are we doing here? What's the expectation? How do I make you happy? Aaron would probably say I need some additional therapy for that. But that's what comes as a result of an authoritarian parent. How would the world be if we didn't have the people who came in and said, what are the expectations? What do you need? Let's get it done. It'd be tough if everybody had a different idea on how to do something, right? That doesn't make having a different idea on how to do something bad, but we can't have a different idea on how to do everything. So some authoritarian aspect is really good to parenting. The child just does not question authority, and there's a limited willingness to set their own standards. They will seek structure from authorities or preset norms. And they do associate obedience with love and acceptance, compliance. Last night I had the opportunity to talk to Abby's mom, and she was talking about ABA, and she says a lot of people come at her and say that ABA was a bad thing to do, that it was that it causes harm. And even in the field of applied behavior analysis, there's a dissection. There's infighting about what is ABA and that ABA is bad, and there's this group of people that say ABA is like dog training and it's very damaging. I've seen ABA that looks like that. So we are our own, it is our own fault. I mean, that's been allowed to happen, but that's not what applied behavior analysis is. Compliance building is not so you do exactly what I want. It's so that you can understand what the rules are and follow them, and so that you can conceptualize the environment you're in and be successful and take further steps. It is not an I say you do no matter what. That's not the goal of compliance training. And when therapists say, well, I can get him to do it, right? And a parent says, I've never seen him do that. Well, he does it for me all the time. That therapist needs to go. That's a problem. That's a real problem because there's some condition that's making that happen. Now, if you've worked with them and learned the strategies, that's fine because that could be happening. But when I hear that, I cringe. Oh, he doesn't do that with me. Well, you're the parent. You're the real natural therapist for the rest of time, at least for the rest of your time. And so those skills need to be demonstrated with you. And if they aren't, then there's too many pieces of tape on the light switch, if you will. So sometimes therapists can be extremely authoritarian, and I say this because I'm one of them, so I'm allowed to kind of pick on my own people. Rachel, wouldn't you agree? And those therapists generally get some compliance, but it's fear-based. And fear-based responding is not good for any of us. So yeah, ABA can look bad when somebody doesn't know how to do it. And somebody's doing it for their own ego. And that happens in everything. That happens in medicine, that happens. So it's not exclusive to ABA, but that's an important, I think, task or thing to notice. So if you are an authoritarian parent, the objective that you would have would be to increase your child's choice making and self-derived expectation setting. So that's the goal for you. Your game plan is going to be, we're going to put something in place, whether it's around dinner time or cleaning up your room, that they are going to make their own choices and set their own expectations and reinforce themselves. Because a result of authoritarian treatment or parenting is seeking approval. And that can become, that's great when you're learning because we control reinforcement and we can get a lot of great learning to happen. But if that doesn't eventually transition to self-reinforcement, we've done a disservice in therapy and in parenting. So that's why this is important, I think. So the authoritarian strategy, those of you who came up as an authoritarian, you're going to count the number of choices you currently give your child in a day. I don't know, we had a couple authoritarians, right? So how many choices are you giving your child in a day? And be honest with yourself. There might be none. There might be none. And then that's going to be your baseline. Then you want to triple it. So you might not know this right now. And by the way, if you're an authoritative parent or even a permissive parent, this is another good strategy. You can use all of these strategies. But you're going to count the number of choices that you currently give your child. Be honest, don't give extra. Just get a good idea of what you're getting so that you know how your child is experiencing your parenting. Then you're going to triple it by 3. So if it's 0, you're going to give 3. If it's 1, you're going to give 3. 2, you're going to give 6, and so on. So generally, the 3 is the goal. Aim to provide that number of choices per day in your current routine. So you're going to say, in our current routine, I'm generally not giving choices. Now I'm going to give choices. Okay? Silly things that we've done that have been effective is, when you sit down and eat dinner together at the table, does everyone sit in the same place? It's kind of, right? We get kind of homey with our own chair. Let your kids choose. Let your child choose a couple nights a week who's going to sit where. It's especially when they're in a therapy world and being therapized all the time. Making choices in and of itself is hugely important. So that's what we want them to do. Make their own choices, and then we're going to have to honor those choices, but then we're going to have them evaluate their own choices. Because the authoritarian in us wants to say, I like the way that you pick. It's not about what you like. It's that you pick. How did that feel to pick? Do you think you made a good choice? More guiding than telling them, Even the reinforcement comes from it. This is the cool thing. People think the word authoritarian is bad because it does have a negative connotation in other contexts. But the fact of being an authoritarian parent is that your child is very good at assessing their successes and their failures. That's the result. They're really good at doing that. So again, none of these parenting styles are bad and none is preferable over another. When you are providing choices to your child. You wanna provide choices that you can live with. Don't control the choice. Don't judge, praise, criticize, or suggest. The hardest part of that is suggesting, and the second hardest part is praising. I'm a behavior analyst standing up here telling you when your child makes a choice, don't tell them they did a good job or that was a good choice. That's the hardest thing in the world. Well, you made a choice. You feel how you feel. So you quit Universal. What did it feel like? Are you happy you did it? It's not my life. That's not my choice. Your choice impacts you. And you know, a lot of people say it's always good to give choices, right? And that's in a lot of parenting things. But the problem is we give choices when the things are melting down. It's time to get in the car. Oh, do you want to watch Bluey on the iPad? Because I got to get to work. So now I'm giving you choices. So when the choices come after problem behavior, that just becomes your way of telling me you don't want to get in the car, and if you screech, I'm going to come up with something to make it a little more desirable for you or a little less punishing at least. So we do a lot of choices that we don't realize are at the moment of crisis. And choices at the moment of crisis just teach your child that that behavior is the way to get to what they want quicker. But that's a trap. And by the way, that's a trap you're never going to get out of. No matter the functioning level or the age of your child, it's always gonna happen. And that's okay, have grace, forgive yourself. But if you do add in a few choices and say to yourself, don't say that was a good choice, don't say that was a good choice, just say, oh, that was your choice. It's tough to do, but very, very important. And let the poor or less than optimal choices do the teaching for you. I think the older our kids get, the harder this is, because we want to teach them from our own experiences, and it's hard sometimes to not do that, but very important to do it. The second strategy for authoritarian is require your child to make some predictions or some guesses about what might happen next. Because generally in authoritarian, you're very regimented. It's pretty as the day goes. We're even told we have a child with autism or we have a child with Down syndrome and they need to know what's coming next. And that's fine, sure, we would all like to know what was coming next. You guys would have liked to know 2 weeks in advance that there was a hurricane coming. And then 5 weeks in advance that there was a second one coming. We all want to know what's coming. And that is a good strategy to help a child manage themselves, but it can't be there forever. Or it's got to start mixing up. So every intervention you put in place, you should be thinking, how the heck am I going to get it out of place? I don't want to make a new dependency on something that I'll never be able to get rid of. And we do that. I mean, like I told you, our school has kids up to 22, and we have parents who still have to drive home the long way when they pick up their 18-year-old son, because that's the way you always go. Well, that's really difficult. That's gonna make flexibility very challenging. When you're 18, you're pretty set. So and also when you're 18, the way that you communicate your anger looks a lot different than when you're 3. So that's an important thing. To prompt them with questions to get their prediction and then review it once the answer is clear. Again, we're more inclined because as parents, we become therapists. And so we say, if you do this, this will happen. We're always trying to support that safety net, but what happens is we're limiting our child from being able to make their own guesses and then see what comes out of it. So that's one important piece. Okay, if you're gonna implement the prediction strategy, predictions, you wanna start out super concrete and move to more abstract. Why? Because we want the child making their own predictions and we want them to learn from it, right? That was on the previous slide. Let the choice teach. Let the choice be the teacher, not you. So you wanna play games to add more things into your parenting. This goes for authoritative and authoritarian as well. How many do you think, or how many items do you think we're gonna have in the cart after we do our grocery shopping? Who cares what the answer is? Who got closer? Oh, okay, who got closer? It's countable. It's something that you can really look at. You can say, hey, that's when you can provide reinforcement, right? You took a shot, man. Some people don't even want to guess because they have no idea, but you did it. You took a shot. You guessed how many we would have. How long do you think it'll take us to get to work or to school if we go the other way? 17 minutes? Okay, let's see. Who cares, again, how many minutes it takes? Well, you made a good guess. Was it close? Was it far off? Hey, it was still a guess and you made it. So it's more and more little opportunities to own choices and setting their own expectations, which is important. And then you can move to the more abstract. You know, how do you think that'll make him feel? How do you think, you know, we do that too long before kids are ready. They haven't even experienced the gamut of emotions, and we want them to interpret how their behavior makes someone else feel. Oftentimes, those early behaviors, and specifically problem ones, they don't give a rat's behind how it makes another person feel. So having that conversation with them, you become very authoritarian because you're giving them the answers. Well, he must feel sad because he's crying and he's upset, and if you did that to me, I would feel this way. And all of a sudden, we've removed all the power, all the control from our child. So, kind of problematic. Type 3 is the permissive parent. Nurturing is the cornerstone of this style. There are a lot of parenting strategies that are very permissive. And my job is to love you. You can co-sleep with me for as long as you want. I'm not making a judgment on that. That's a very popular thing. But that is more of a this is our job. I want you to feel my closeness, and I want you to know that I'm your rock, I'm your foundation. That's okay. Avoiding confrontation and conflict, though. A parent who tends to be more permissive will put all those things in place so that everything goes really well for the child, so that the child can just move straight on. And they provide few rules, but they're fluid and situational. That's a permissive parenting. Like, we have this rule, but the rule doesn't always hit. Identifies with the feelings of the child, but does not require the child to identify with yours. So you're like, I know that it makes you sad, and let me help you fix this. Not, it makes me sad, but we're in the middle of church, and you've made me embarrassed. There's not that play back and forth. So that's kind of an important thing, but a permissive parent it's all about you. In permissive parenting, you're solving the problem at the moment, and your number one goal is to return the child to comfort right away. Guess what? Even authoritarian parents are going to have permissive parent moments. That's okay. Again, these are not who you are. These are just your tendencies. You make behavior deals sometimes skewed towards the little behavior. This is a challenge, and be really careful of this, especially when there's a lot of problems happening. You say, there's all these behavior problems happening. If you can just give me this much, I'm going to have the ticker tape parade for you. Or we're going to have like the trip to Disneyland, right? Because the permissive parent, in that permissive parenting moment, you feel so out of control that just any movement towards feeling happy and nurtured again is a big thing. And so sometimes we'll over-reinforce that. Just something to watch out for. These kids have a strong sense of what is fair and not fair. But they usually feel like it's not fair more than it's fair, because they tend to have things provided a little easier. They don't have to struggle as much to get back to that state of comfort. They confuse environmental conditions and consequences with being mean, right? She was mean to me. This wasn't fair. I got this a little bit after my son had his diagnosis because I became much more permissive, because my only new expectation was, you know, I got this kid now who has to prick his finger every time he eats before he goes to sleep. Then he has to pull out a shot and give himself a shot of insulin. And he's 16 years old, he's supposed to be at the cool part of life in high school. So I had all this guilt that was happening for him, that my expectations of him decreased dramatically. But it's okay, I forgive myself for that. That was my coping mechanism as too. But I would definitely say that he would be my non-typical child, if you will, and our relationship is still very different than with my kid that was just tootling along, and that's okay. So the child who is parented permissively may have some difficulty in social skill groups. So for this situation, you would want to increase their compliance with rules. So the permissive parent has to do the opposite of the authoritarian parent. The permissive parent has to put in more rules, where the authoritarian has to remove some rules and let the child set some of their own rules. You want to build compliance if you feel like you're permissive or permissive at certain moments, the best thing to do is to start to name behaviors the child's doing anyway and thank them for doing it. So they're standing up, they're putting their blocks away. This is never a problem. They always put their blocks away. I don't care. You're going to say, put the blue one away. thank you. Can you do the yellow one? Look at you, thank you. So you're inserting rules and you're inserting I say you do to build up compliance. This is the easiest way to do it. Also, the permissive parent should pick a not a big deal behavior and make it a big deal. When my kids were little, my son, my big no-no, like we would turn the car around if he took his shoes and socks off when he was in his car seat. I didn't really care. I just wanted to create a rule to let him test it that wasn't like if you murder a peer, there's gonna be a problem. So I knew, I was like, this is the thing I'm gonna pick. And he would take his shoes and socks off. I said, that's it, I'm going to the park and turn around. And it broke my heart to do it, but it taught him a boundary and a rule, and it wasn't that heartbreaking for me to turn around. But like I said, he wasn't attacking people. So that's another little trick for when you're feeling like you're permissive. So what we can do, and it is 1:15, and I apologize because I was hoping we'd have a little bit more time. I think it took a little longer on the scale. But in the game plan, does anybody mind just giving me 2 more minutes and saying, based on the information that we've talked about, this is something I need to do with my child, and I'll help run through a game plan really quickly, and then if any of you want to stay, I'm happy to help. But can we do 2 minutes and run through one? Okay. Do you mind giving me something you're thinking about based on what we said? You're just kind and nodding, so.
I have some written down.
Okay. There you go. I picked on him this morning, so I was trying to leave him alone. Hit me with it, Daniel.
Well, one is, this is for a child, whatever, to be able to require tasks without arguing or nothing.
Okay, so you have a child who demonstrates some of that behavior. Yes, where do you find that you are you're authoritarian, right? Authoritative.
First one.
You're authoritative, okay. So the goal here is complete required tasks without melting down. So melting down behavior is yelling, no, screaming, or clearing table. Okay, so let's look at the game plan here. So the goal is child will complete, now we want to get, child will complete a task without melting down. That's fine, that's a really fair goal. That's what he would write right there. Now what are the activities that he's going to do? The first thing he's going to do is he's going to find a really simple task that your child doesn't mind doing, okay? So you're going to list the steps to that task there. You're going to provide a name for each one of those steps. And your measure of those is going to be whether she completed it or not. Is it a she?
Yes.
I was guessing. We girls, we're the most challenging, by the way. Give me a boy with behavior problems, no worries, girls. Woo! It's very complex. So what would a couple of the steps be of a task that you can give her? One thing.
Like, if we're getting ready for school one morning, well, like, having clothes picked out the night before.
Okay.
So that way that morning she can.
Okay, that's a great strategy, and I bet you probably do that anyway. But one of the things I would do, I wouldn't do it the morning before school because it's going to be an S show and you're going to lose it all. Like, don't do it when you're under stress. So have grace with yourself, create a new time to do it. The game plan is that she is going to complete a required task without a problem. You're going to create a new task to give her. And you're going to say, this is the new task we're doing. We're getting dressed. But it's going to be on a Saturday. And it's going to be before she typically gets dressed. And so you'll list the different steps and go through them with her. What's the first thing you're going to put on? Your shirt, your shorts, your shoes. You can actually do some verbal rehearsal like we did this morning. And then have her practice, ready, set, go. And she gives you 5, and then you measure. Did she do each of those independent, or did she need prompts? And then your edits will be, where did she need prompts? Now I'm gonna teach her, help her, and pair in a little bit more reinforcement with those. So after you do that for a few times on a Saturday or Sunday, where the truth is it doesn't matter, because if she doesn't get dressed, if you just write edit, try again tomorrow, and she stays in her pajamas for a little bit longer, who cares? It's not on a school day. So you've set yourself up for success, and now she's gonna do those steps. So once you measure and write down how she's doing with those steps, then you make your edits. But the general strategies are start where it doesn't matter for you, so that you don't get stressed out. Create a new scenario for that behavior to occur and teach it. Because you are authoritarian, you wanna add in a few choices. So you wanna let her choose the shoes, the shirt, and you choose something else. You wanna have a mix. and then you call me when it all goes to and we work through it again. All right, guys, I hope that you gleaned something interesting from this. I'm sorry we didn't all get to leave with our own game plans, but if you want to stick around and ask for my help on creating a game plan for you, I'm happy to. I do have my cards up here with my contact information, so if you would like to take it, email me later with questions. I love this stuff. I want this to be meaningful for you, so please don't hesitate to email with questions. I'm really happy to help. Thank you so much. Sorry we ran out of time.